Eylon Levy इस वक्त हमारे साथ जुड़ चुके हैं. Eylon, we welcome you. This is Shivam Dutt Mehta and this Pradosh is also with me. We thank you so much for your time, and there was a technical lag, that's why there was a delay. Extremely sorry for that. But we want your time, and I want to tell you this, that the people of India, the whole community, we are with you, and we understand your pain, and we understand what you guys are going through. And we applaud you that you are fighting a battle, you're fighting against all odds. We, the people of India, are with you. We want a short message, small message from you. What was it like when there were 5,000 to 7,000 rockets, what the media states? It all came to your country, and it was a catastrophe. What was the situation that day? What exactly happened?
First of all, we want to thank you and the people of India for your solid support. This is Israel's darkest hour in the wake of the October 7th massacre. We now have over 1,400 people murdered, 4,000 people injured. Over 200 people are hostages inside the Gaza Strip. I want to tell you that the situation is so severe that we have over 200 people whose bodies cannot be identified at the moment because the Hamas death squads who murdered them burned them alive so badly that there's nothing left of them but fragments of bone and ash. So Israel is a country that is in grief, but we are comforted by the international support that we are seeing, including from the good people of India. And now as we move into the next stage of the operation, an operation to destroy Hamas, the ISIS-style terror organization that perpetrated the October 7th massacre, we're comforted by the fact that we have such solid international solidarity and support. It's not only world leaders, including the leaders of India, saying that Israel has a right to defend itself. Just now, we heard Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, in a press conference with our Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, saying the United Kingdom wants Israel to win, because I think the world understands that what Hamas perpetrated on October 7th was a crime against humanity, and the whole of humanity needs to stand behind Israel now as we eliminate this evil from the Gaza Strip so it can never hurt us, the region, or the world ever again.
Exactly.
So sir, my question to you is that last week Prime Minister Netanyahu said that he is going to completely demolish and wipe out the Gaza Strip from the world map. So my question is to you, are you really firmly standing with your stand, what you said last week, or do you feel any international pressure after this statement?
Israel feels a warm embrace of support from the international community. We saw it from the visit from the President of the United States just yesterday here in Israel, an almost unprecedented visit by the leader of the free world to an active war zone, a place where the United States is not fighting. The only other example is Ukraine. The President made it very clear that the US Army will make sure that Israel has all the tools and the weapons it needs to continue with its fight against Hamas and this barbarous ISIS-style terrorism. We have the solid support of the United States, two battle carrier groups coming to the Middle East as well to deter any other actors that might be thinking of entering. And from the Chancellor of Germany and the Prime Minister of Britain, we know that the free world is standing behind us and that it's time to destroy Hamas. Perhaps that is something that should have been done before, but the battle to destroy Hamas is something that we are determined to do. It's a war we're determined to win, and it's a war in which we know that we have the whole free world behind us.
Yeah, another big question that comes to everybody's mind is it a war of territory? Is it a war of the land? Is it the fight between the people of Israel, the land war, or is it a war of religion? Because when we talk about Palestine, when we talk about Hamas, we talk about radical Islamists, we talk about militancy, we talk about terrorism. And in India, what RPM says that there's no good terrorism, there's no bad terrorism. Terrorism is terrorism. So what kind of terrorism are you facing, and do you also state this openly? Because Israel stands alone sometimes. You have the support now, which is gradually growing, but you have those people who have a lot of Islamic nations which are showing solidarity, direct support to them. What do you think? Is it a war of religion?
That's a very important statement. Terrorism is terrorism. And I can say that we have been appalled to see so many in the international media refusing to call Hamas out for the clear terrorism. You know, when you're talking about death squads going into people's homes, burning people alive, tying them up, torturing them, dismembering them, reports of children having their eyes gouged out before they were shot and burned. There is no other way to describe this other than terrorism. And it is, in the case of Hamas, a radical Islamist group that shares an ideology with ISIS, a terrorism motivated by a twisted, violent form of religion that we and people of peace around the world clearly reject. And it's important to make clear this is terrorism, it is barbarism, it is savagery, it is inhumanity, it is completely unacceptable. And we know that our friends and allies around the world understand the threat that Israel is facing and that there must be absolutely no tolerance for this kind of religiously inspired violence. Because Israel is not going to be alone. It's not going to be the last target of this radical Islamist violence. And if we don't destroy it, if we do not stamp out Hamas in the Gaza Strip now, if it is able to perpetrate these crimes against humanity with impunity and get away with it, it will claim more victims. And so these were crimes against humanity, and we're fighting for the sake of humanity here, and we will win.
Exactly, that is what Netanyahu was saying, that this is a war which would help the world. It's a fight for the entire, not just this country, but the whole entire world. But Eylon, I would like to state this. Nobody is talking in a broad manner about what happened in Israel. Is nobody directly in support of Israel? Are the children of Israel not important to them? Are the people who are dying in Israel not important to the world media, the so-called human rights and so-called factions of people, the groups? This whole lobby thing, which you can understand better, because you have Hamas on one side, but you have a deadly Hezbollah on the other side. So you are fighting a war on many fronts. Do you think that this whole Islamic terrorism which you are fighting, this will be deadly, more deadly in the coming days? And what will be your message to them? How will you carry on this fight, sir?
At the moment, Israel is fighting a war on one front. We are fighting a war against Hamas, a war that it dragged us into with the massacre of the 7th of October. It's a war that we're going to begin. At the same time, we have seen Hezbollah, that's Hamas's twin sister, if you will, in Lebanon, attacking Israel, launching rockets at our territory. And we've been clear that if Hezbollah, backed by Iran, drags us into a full-scale war, we are ready to fight a war on two fronts, and we will win that war. And that is why we really appreciate the United States sending 2 battle carrier groups into the Middle East as a clear warning, as the president said, to anyone else thinking of widening this conflict, which at the moment is a war between Israel and Hamas. But if anyone is thinking of widening this conflict into a broader regional conflict, the American presence is here to deter them. But we are ready. Israel has called up the biggest ever mobilization of the reserves. And if the terrorists of Hezbollah drag us into a full-scale war, we will fight that war and we will win it.
Exactly.
So, sir, as we know that Al Jazeera, they are showing the other version of the war. So, what is your take on it?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Al Jazeera, the Qatar news channel, they are spreading the news.
They say that some media outlets, some media channels, some media agencies, they are showing their version of news where they are saying that the people of Palestine, they are the victims, not the people of Israel. It is the Israel who has fired rockets, Israel who has attacked the hospital. So they are showing their version of news. What is your answer to them? How do you defend yourself from media? Because you can fight a war on land with the army or the militants, but what about the world media, which forms an opinion in the minds of the people, sir?
Let's remember how this war started, because I think some people might have forgotten as the news cycle moves on. On the morning of the 7th of October, Hamas invaded Israel with thousands of terrorists who massacred people in the streets, went door to door, butchering people in their beds, tying families, torturing them, gouging out eyes, beheading people, burning them alive. They killed 1,400 of our people. They injured 4,000 of our people. They took 200 people hostage and are holding them now inside the Gaza Strip without basic conditions. This is not a war that Israel wanted. It is not a war that Israel started. It is not a war that Israel even expected. It is a war that we have been dragged into with the war crimes of the morning of the 7th of October. And it is a war that we are going to win. It is a war that we are going to win because we have no choice, because we can no longer live with an ISIS-style terrorist group meters away from our homes. And as we pursue that goal, as we pursue our objective of victory against this barbaric terrorism, we will do everything we can to minimize civilian casualties inside the Gaza Strip, because we do not want to see civilians being hurt. This is a war against Hamas. It's not a war against the Palestinians. It's not a war against the Gaza Strip. It is a war against the barbaric terrorists who perpetrated the massacre of the 7th of October. And that is our message. We do not want to hurt civilians. We are urging them to get out of harm's way. But to every single person who was involved in the brutal, bloodthirsty terror attack of the 7th of October, we are coming to get you.
One important question for that day, because it is said that it was there were celebrations going on and it was not the right day to be attacked, but it was a very big intelligence failure. So what lessons have Israel learned from this attack? Because we Indians also have faced many terrorist attacks, maybe 26/11, and there are n numbers of attacks which have happened. But what lessons have you taken, and are you improving on that? Because it is very clear that there has been an intelligence failure. If you can reflect upon that, please.
And this is the final question I'm afraid I will be able to answer, because I have another interview waiting for us. Clearly, Israel failed to predict the attack of the 7th of October, and the whole world is in shock. And Israel is already learning lessons about exactly how that happened and how it was possible that Hamas deceived Israel into thinking that it was interested in improving humanitarian conditions in the Gaza Strip, into thinking that it wanted to govern the Gaza Strip, when really it was planning the worst terror attack in world history after 9/11. Now, after we win this war, after victory, after we destroy Hamas, I'm sure that Israel is going to learn the correct lessons about what went wrong, and we will find a way to move forward as a society that is hurting, but a society that I hope will emerge stronger. But for now, our country is focused on one thing and one thing alone, and that is victory. And as I said at the beginning, we thank everyone, all your viewers, people in India, for their solidarity. And
for one very small question, me and Pradosh, we have one small question from you. First, when is this war going to end, Pradosh?
Yes.
Ye kab khatm hoga? When is it going to end? And what support do you expect from PM Modi and Indians in this war against terrorism?
Afraid I really have to leave the interview. I have another interview waiting for me, but really I will be happy to come back anytime. Thank you very much.
When this war is going to end? So here हमारे साथ अंग्रेजी में इंटरव्यू करना हमें पड़ा, क्योंकि वो ईलॉन हमारे साथ इस वक्त जुड़ रहे थे तेल अवीव से। आपने देखा किस तरीके से एक युद्ध जिसका सामना इजराइल इस वक्त वहां पर कर रहा था। तो आप ये देखिए, प्रवक्ता हमारे साथ जुड़े पीएमओ ऑफिस से जंग के बारे में एक सटीक जो बयान आपको किसी ने अगर दिया होगा, इससे सटीक बयानबाजी और इसके सटीक जो बातें कोई आपको बता सकता है, इससे ज्यादा महत्वपूर्ण कोई व्यक्ति मुझे नहीं लगता हो सकता है। तो उन्होंने बताया किस तरीके से जब ये जंग खत्म हो जाएगी, तो हमने ये सवाल पूछा, हमने 7 सवाल पूछे कि क्या इंटेलिजेंस फेलियर हुआ था। सवाल तो हमारे पास बहुत थे, लेकिन इस सवाल का जवाब उन्होंने ये दिया कि जब जंग खत्म हो जाएगी, जब युद्ध खत्म हो जाएगा, उसके बाद ये सोचा जाएगा कि गलती कहां पे थी, क्यों प्रदोष। ये बात, इसी को तो समझने की हमारी पूरी कोशिश थी। इजराइल भी यही समझने की कोशिश लगातार कर रहा है, और ये युद्ध जो आप देख रहे हैं बिल्कुल भी खत्म होता अभी तक तो नजर नहीं आ रहा, क्योंकि इसमें ईरान भी है, हिजबुल्लाह की बात आप करिए, जॉर्डन का एंगल समझिए, हमास का समझिए, किस तरीके से ऐसे रॉकेट्स बना के फायर किए जाते हैं जो खुद अपने ही इलाके में गिर जाते हैं। और एक पूरा सेक्शन ऑफ मीडिया कह लीजिए, एक पूरा सेक्शन ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स कह लीजिए, कुछ देश कह लीजिए, कुछ लोग कह लीजिए जो एक तरफ खड़े हैं, और कुछ लोग ऐसे देखिए वो ये भी हैं जो राष्ट्रवाद की बात करते हैं, जो देश की बात करें। तो इजराइल अगर अपने आप को वहां पर आत्मरक्षा में कुछ करता है तो क्या वो गलत करता है? इसी के बारे में हमें जानकारी देने के लिए हमारे साथ प्रवक्ता हमारे साथ जुड़ गए थे। तो लगातार ऐसे ही बड़े महत्वपूर्ण मेहमान, आपको बता दूं, जब तक ये युद्ध चलेगा, सुदर्शन न्यूज पर आपको सबसे बड़ी और सटीक सच्ची खबर, कोई प्रोपेगेंडा नहीं, जो हो रहा है उसकी बात आपको सुदर्शन न्यूज पर ही बताई जाएगी। तो केवल और केवल सुदर्शन न्यूज ही देखते रहिए।